All right, here's our beautiful sign-up page, but we have to actually start putting stuff into it. And this is when we talk about databases. Now, even though I've said that you should have some understanding of PHP and all this other stuff before you get into this project, not so much a tutorial, but a project, I am going to kind of give you some lessons in certain things. And one of the lessons I'm going to give you is databases. Now, we're using MySQL, and I'm using PHP MyAdmin, which comes with XAMPP, XAMPP, whatever you want to call it, WAMP, LAMP. They all have the same thing, similar to it anyway. And if you remember, when we first began this, I went to the .env file, and what I did was I unlocked, and unclocked the database area where it said localhost, faggot root, and all that stuff. This is where we're going to need this. So we need to make a database to hold the data or data that we're going to be storing in order for us to be completely interactive, completely dynamic. So we're going to call that, of course, what we have to call it, which is Factor. And we need to create a table. The first one we're going to call is users. And let me see. We're going to put in a few columns. We'll say 9. So the users will have an ID. And the ID is how you index each user. It's a means to sort of keep track of all your users by tagging them with a certain number based on when they sign up. So it's just always it'll auto increment. We're going to say that it can't be null. We're going to say that it's the primary key, which means it auto increments. It can't be null. So we have the primary key, auto increments, and everything like that. And then the length, it'll automatically, if you pick int, it'll automatically go to 11. Now you could put varchar and you could just put in an ID if you want. It's up to you, but this makes things easier, so you don't have to worry about it. We also have a first name. So I've already done this many times. We're going to max that out at 50 characters. I don't know anyone who has a first name that's 50 characters. So, and then we'll have a last name. And we're going to max that out at 50 characters. We'll also have initials. This was something I didn't do my previous incarnations because I wasn't expecting to do it. But you know how, and that will only be 2. Do you know how when you make something in Google or whatever, what happens is when you don't have a picture, it gives you like your first initial and a background color? That's what this is about. And default color, which will be the background color. And that will be hexadecimal, so that's 7. And what else do we want to do? Username we're going to save for something else. I'm going to show you something. Then I think that's pretty much it. I think that's all we need for this. ID, first name, last name, initials. Yeah, that we'll do. That's fine. Okay, so then we need a created at. Oh, I have to put in created at, so we know when you signed up. And that will be where's my date time? And we're going to we're going to default it to current timestamp, and then update it at, and we'll do date time as well. And this is the way I do it. You don't have to do it this way. You can use any kind of timestamp you want, and I think that should be it. So you say, well, wait a minute, what about email address, username? Where is all that stuff? With bigger projects, we sort of get into the habit of loading this in other things and other projects. In fact, I don't even want to put the initials and all that here. Let's put in for now, and I'm going to change that. Because really the user's just how you index them. You really don't need this or this. Because I'm going to show you what we're going to do. We're going to make another one, and we're going to call that info. And info, we're going to add a bunch of things. We're going to add like 5. And the info's got its own ID. Wait. No, I don't. I keep clicking null. It's not null. It's AI. And that's going to have the username. Oh, wait. I forgot. Very important. And somebody's probably screaming it right now. What are you doing, you idiot? username initials, right? We're going to do that too. Default color. And all that would be in place of 7. Yeah, it's 7. Would be in place of a pic. 150. Also an email address. 150. Location. We actually need another one, which we're only going to say about 90. We're going to need some more columns. Location, bio, which is not going to be varchar, which is characters or whatever. We want text. Text has like, no, it's like 10,000 characters or something. It's crazy. And then we're going to have created at. And since we are going to be updating this, created at, date time, default, current, no, not null, current timestamp, and updated at, date time, current timestamp. And we'll save that. But the one thing I forgot in users, I forgot the damn password. So we have to add, and this is good. Then you learn how to add things after. Now this is if you do PHP-MyAdmin. If you're doing, and we're gonna give that 150. If you're using something along the line, 200 just to be safe. Varchar can only go up to 250. If you're doing something along the lines of SQL or MySQL, if you're just using that straight up, then you'll have to put in all these different commands and what have you. With this, we just do it using a user interface. Now, we're also going to make another one. We're going to make all of our things here blog posts. That's what we're going to call it, blog posts. And really the blog post is going to be simple stuff. Oh, I forgot another thing. Sorry. Primary, yes, auto increment, and we get title, varchar, we'll max that at 150. We get body, which is text, and we get created at, date time. Where's my default? Timestamp. Updated at. And something that I forgot in the info, user ID. That is our foreign key. So let's go back to info and let's go to structure and let's add after updated at, and we call it user ID. And then one last one, which is a little bit more complicated, that's comments. Comments, we're going to have to add a couple as well. Comments have their own ID. Yeah, if you click auto increment, it defaults it to primary. Comment body. I mean, I could probably just say, well, whatever. Text. Created at, we only need created at. We're not updating these things. So we're just going to have them get created and that's it. Timestamp, come here you. No, it's actually datetime. Default, current timestamp. And then post ID and user ID. Foreign keys, folks. Now, CodeIgniter doesn't come equipped with any kind of relationship. For those of you that don't really know what relationships are, when it comes to fetching data, there are a lot of frameworks like Django, like Laravel, whatever, that already have relationships built in. What relationships are is there are means to index or to reference one table connected to another. So the users that's like the main table, right? And all these other tables are sort of children of that table. They branch off from that table. So the users are the owners of the comments, the blog posts, their info. Those users, the user table is the parent of those three tables, more or less. So every user has an info, and every info belongs to that user. So the way you do it on PHP-MyAdmin is you go to, let me see, you go to, it wasn't privileges, no, hold on. I think, hold on, how did I do this again? Operations? No, where was it? So, filters, I think. No, hold on. Routines, that's the one, routines. No, that's not the one. Just keep clicking on stuff. Triggers, events. Operations, no. Privileges, import. Anyway, let's go to infos. Let's go to info. So we have to like connect these together. And where is it? Well, anyway, no wait, it's hold on. I know what it is. I know this one. It is, let's go. Create, no, it's not create view. I just like looking at it. Whatever. Just to double check myself. It's not structure, but it's there. There it is, relationship. Relationship, okay. So we're gonna add, you see on delete, restrict, on update and everything, we're gonna say cascade, and we're gonna add user ID, and we're going to connect that to users. So now the user ID becomes the foreign key of info. So if we save that and you look, if you go back to structure, you'll see that this has now a key on it. It's indexed. So now it knows that when you go to the info belongs to the user. And we do the same thing with blog posts. So we have user ID there. We do the same thing with blog post, relation view, cascade. So this way, if you delete something from users, it will delete their blog posts, it'll delete their info, it'll delete it all. But comments is a little bit different, because comments you have actually two foreign keys. You have the comment belongs to the post and the comment belongs to the user. So with that, we have to say post ID, we have to say blog posts ID, and then we have to add another one and say user ID, and we have to link that to, oh wait, hold on, cascade. And we have to link that to, hold on. No, that should be it, right? No, but that'll just make it one table. Let's go back to that. Let's do that over. So cascade, post ID, blog posts. And you could actually do this with, that's it, add a constraint. You can do this with user ID, another table completely. And there you have it. So that's how you would do it in PHP-MyAdmin. That only took about, what, 3 hours? Wow, we're at 13 minutes already. All right, so anyway, so we have our references and everything like that. So let's make this thing work. So the way we do that is we have to make the pages, actually the signup.js. I like to just separate it. And the function here is signup. So we say function signup. So whenever we hit that button, it's going to do function signup. And just to double check, I always do this. Alert, thank you. Just to make sure that the button and everything is connected, everything works. So I'm going to do a hard refresh of Control F5, and when I hit that, it pops up an alert button. So now we know that it works. So what we need to do is we need to take the values of all these different elements that we've put together here. So we need to take the value of first name, last name, username, password, and confirm password, and the token. So let's do that. So let's get fname equals document, get element by ID, fname, and what do we want to get from that object? We want to get the value. The value is what's in the input field. lname, document, get element. Again, this is, if you are comfortable with most programming other than PHP, you know, this is a variable, but we're getting an object. We're making this an object that we're getting from the ID lname, and we're taking that object functionality and adding value object functionality to it. That's how you document is just like the name of the reference to that object. Get element by ID is getting that's a functionality of the document, and the value is the functionality of the function. It's just, you're just going from one function to another is what you're doing here. If that at all makes sense. It makes sense in when you use it. When you actually do it, it makes more sense than if I try to explain it to you. Username, but basically we're just getting the values of these things. And then pass equals document, get element by ID, pass, value. And then var conf equals document, get element by ID, conf. And then of course, sign up token equals document, get element by ID, sign up token. Now, just to make sure that all of this stuff has worked, let's alert again. Fname, whenever you want to add values in JavaScript, use plus signs. Whenever you want to like concatenate values between spaces and what have you, you concatenate with the plus sign. And this is just to double check that we're getting the right values. That we're getting all the values, otherwise we're going to get a bunch of error messages, and we don't want that. So let's just alert. So now, if I were to say next, we just get, that's all we have. We didn't put anything in the username, first name, nothing. So let's just do that. Blah, 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 blah. And there you go. So we have all the values. First name, last name, username, password, confirm. There we go. We have all the values. What do we want to do with these values? That's the key. That's what we're really talking about. We want to do checks. We want to add this into our database that we want to direct somewhere else. So the way we do that is, at this point, this is the way I do this. This is how you do asynchronous checking, asynchronous updates with pure JavaScript and XML HTTP request. So you can make it constant. A constant is just a value that'll be constant throughout. It doesn't make any difference. You can make, I've done it with variables, doesn't matter, but we'll do constant just to be cool. Sign up send. I usually call it the page and send. And that is a new XML HTTP request. From there, we then make a sign up send onload function. Onload equals function. If you've seen anything like this, that's the same thing as, you know, more or less as just saying equals function. It's the same thing. So now we want to say, after everything has been sent to, we want to get the errors if there are errors. So we want to make an array. Sign up make an array. That's how you say in JavaScript, I want to make an array. And then we're going to equal that array to this, meaning this onload function, this response text, and we're going to make the response text, this response text object's functionality of split equate into all these different values. So I use a tilde and a space because I'm obsessed with proper grammar and typing and everything, and a tilde because typically you don't put tildes and spaces in your input. If you do, you do. That's your problem. And then from there, we do our checks. If sign up does not equal no then we start telling the JavaScript to produce these errors. So if we're going to base it on all the different indexes from just loading up You'll see. I'm gonna explain everything to you when we start getting into it. Sign up 1. If these two values are not empty, if they equal something, if there's an error in there, then we want to produce in the document, get element by ID, in the first errors, is that what I called it? First error. We want to say in the inner HTML, meaning the HTML within, we're going to add HTML to that object, that paragraph object that we called first error. We're going to equal it to sign up 1, nope, sorry, 0, and concatenate, right? Sign up 1. Else if that's not true, but this is, because we want to get all parameters under wraps here. Oh, wait, sorry, forgot that one. And, that's and in programming, double ampersand, is that? No, that's not ampersand. Is that ampersand? I'm pretty sure it is. Or I'm kind of sure it's not. If only there's an error in the first name and not in the last name, then we can go document get element by ID, first error, inner HTML equals sign up 0. Now what's the next condition? Next condition would be that if there was only and you have to say both. You have to tell it to do that. Remember, the computer is an idiot. It doesn't know anything. You have to tell it every last condition, or you're going to get a whole bunch of funky stuff. So just make sure that you tell it everything. Does not equal then document. So in order to avoid the first error just sitting there with an error inside when there is no error and you're going, huh? In order to avoid that, we have to make conditions for when there's only a first name error, last name error, when there's an error for both. This way, else we can just then clear it out. Oh yeah, and I forgot one thing. I forgot it, but I kind of want to keep it there for now. Equals blank. So that's for the first name. Now, if sign up so we did the 0 index, the 1 index. The computer starts counting at 0, no matter what you start counting at. Anytime you index an array, it starts at 0. So the first error would be the first name error, second error would be the second name error, or the last name error. The third error would be the username error. So it's indexed at 2. Not confusing at all. And this one's a little easier because all we have to do is just get one error. And I called it username error, right? Yeah, username error. For anyone that knows CodeIgniter, you're going to see right away what the problem with what I'm doing is. I'm missing something, and you'll notice. Else that is going to be blank. And then, of course, we have the password area errors, which is if sign up 3 does not equal blank. We have to do like we did the top over there. Just retype it. Don't pout. Santa Claus is coming to town. And do that, then we'll say that the document I mean, I've done this so many friggin' times that it's like stuck in my brain. So that's one of the reasons why I don't mind retyping over and over again. Again, the whole thing about non-repetitive code, every code is repetitive. You just keep typing the same thing over and over again. The only time it's not repetitive is if you copy-paste, and I don't copy-paste, because then you don't really learn. And this makes even less sense. Explaining everything is a lot different than actually doing it. It's best to just do it. And that's what I'm doing here. That's why I'm calling this a project and not a tutorial, because a project is we're working together, we're making something together. And that's the best practice in learning any kind of programming language, is just doing it. That's how I learned. I just did it. Oh yeah, I can do that. And I would just do it, and I would look everything up, and I would drive myself nuts, and I'd be up all night and everything. So So that's that. That's how I learned. I just keep retyping things, I keep looking things up, I keep figuring out, oh yeah, that makes more sense, and let's do it that way. Equals blank, and sign up. And it might seem tedious, and it is, but it's how you grow as a human and as a developer. And everything is friggin' frameworks now anyway. Everything has been so dumbed down, it's pathetic. So, okay. Else, we just clear that out. And that's one of the reasons why the tools like Visual Studio make things a lot smoother. Okay, so that's that. So this is all the checking. Now, if things go well, we're actually going to take the second part of the array. Where are you? Yeah, we're good. We'll take the second part of the array. The first part will say no error. And the second part, this way the JavaScript knows, okay, there isn't an error, so let's go to the else condition. Because the if condition is if there is an error in any of these things. The else condition is if there's not an error. So if there's not an error, then what we want to do is we want to say window, right? Window is the actual URL or whatever, the page that you're on. Dot location, so that's the location functionality, so that it looks for another location. Dot href, and we give it an href, and that href is Facker public dashboard, and we have to reference a specific dashboard for a specific user, and that ID will be signup 1. That's the second one. Okay, so since I already told, because when we create it, we're not going to do automatic emails to confirm, but since we created this thing, we want it to look good, and the way we're going to do that is we're going to make a dashboard page. We're going to go in the routes, and I would stick it in home anyway. That's what she said. But yeah, I'm going to go match, just in case. I mean, worst comes to worst, and you're not using the get or the post aspect, then that's no big deal. And we're going to call it dashboard. Now, how do we reference an ID or some kind of dynamic input or variable in CodeIgniter's routes? Parenthesis num, like that. And then, in order for it to know where to look in the home, we just kind of do a $$1. So that's how it knows dashboard and the user ID. It's going to be a number. There are other ways. It's like, characters, letters, whatever. Like there are so many different references. If you want, you can look at the CodeIgniter.com manual, and it'll show you all the different routes that you can use. I already wasted enough time with the primary keys or the foreign keys. I'm not going to waste any more time looking that up for you. But we're just going to go with the ID number, and that's it. And then you say, when you want to reference the function in the class itself, you would say the name of the function $1 so it knows it's looking for a numeric value. And let's make that in the home. Let's go public function dashboard, and we'll say $ID, so now it's looking for that parameter. And we're just going to, now we're going to echo a few things. So let's echo view, return view, same shit. And we'll go to main dashboard. That's the name of the view. So in the main we'll go dashboard. This way it knows where to go. And just so you know about what we're using, like what we put in there. It's a good time. This means right here, PHP, whenever you embed PHP into a PHP file, you would typically do the $PHP, and then you'd put whatever functionality, but you can shorthand it when it comes to just echoing out or just displaying a variable value with just $equals, and that basically just is PHP, echo, whatever. So we'll just do that, but we have to pass it through. And the way we do that is we go data, you can call it whatever you want. We're going to just say data to be clean for the children, ID, equals ID. And then we pass that on. So basically what this is looking for is it's looking for the value in the array ID, or again, which you can call it anything, because this function here, this view function, when it sees this comma after where you're referencing the page that it's looking for, the view it's looking for, it will then notice, oh yeah, what's the value of this array? See, it says right there, var array data. That's how the function works. If you want to pass different values, you put them in the data, and then you can just reference it there. So this is just for you to see that we've done everything we wanted to do when we create a new user. And then we have to, we already made the PHP, so we're ready to go. So we'll just close that for now. So now the sign up, like I said, the JavaScript. So this is the function that we're using with the XML HTTP request. But how we actually send the stuff through outside that onload function in the main function brackets. So you want to make sure that you're outside all this. You want to make sure that this is color coded, so it makes it easier. You want to make sure you're only within the yellows, outside the purples, outside the blues. You want to be out here. We have to now tell JavaScript what to do with this HTTP request. We have to send it. .send, actually it's .open first. And the first thing we're going to do is say the method, which is post, and we're going to give it the page that we're sending it to, which is public, and I think it's signup_check. So that's the URL code. That's what we do first. Now we have to set our request headers. This is the fun part. And the first one is X, what is it? X requested with XML HTTP request, so it knows that what we're doing. Sign up, send, set request header. Now it knows the CR5 token, which we called sign up token. And then we have to tell it what kind of data it is, which is content type, and that is application x www URL encoded. Oh man, I gotta look this one up. All right, hold on, let me look at my notes. I thought I had it in my head. It's there. It's just I gotta hold on. Sorry. Let's go to sign up. Form URL. I always forget the form. Damn it. All right, well, there we go. Form. And it will complain to you if you don't do it right. So, and then we actually put together what we're sending. Send, and we're going to go fname. We're going to call it fname, and that's going to equal the fname value. So we can concatenate, and we want to have more than one value. We do the and, that ampersand, whoops, file name, and username. And you can rename them if you want. It would just be a little confusing. Oops. Pass, and conf. We don't have to tell it, we don't have to send the token because it's already being sent with the CSRF token over there, so it already knows. I called it sign up token, right? Yes, I did. Okay. So now we're sending all these values through, right? So we're sending it through to the sign up check. Well, the first thing you want to do is you want to make a new token, so new sign up token. You don't have to, but that's what I like to do. Now we have to, this is how CodeIgniter does checks. What are we at in terms of time? 34 minutes. All right, we're getting kind of, I want to explain this better, but I want to kind of get this done for you so you can actually see the programming in action. So the way it works is we have to do checks. And the way checks work, actually, you know what? I'm going to stop here, and because I want to explain this better, and we're already at 34 minutes. So we got the JavaScript more or less done. We just need to send this. So let me explain the JavaScript a little bit better. So we took all the values from the input fields that we had posted in this signup function, and then we made an XML HTTP request that we want to send to the backend or the signup check page, which is referenced here in this function. So we want to send that information to this function. So now this function can do the checks and then put into the database, the user's database and the info database, which we're going to do at the same time, all the information that we did once the checks go through. If there are any errors, it's going to send it back to the JavaScript, and the JavaScript is going to take those errors and it's going to put them in those error slots that I made in between the different form fields and stuff like that. It's going to put any errors in there, and if everything goes well, it's then going to take us to the user's dashboard, the newly created user's dashboard. That's what we're doing here. But I'm missing something. And the thing that I'm missing is right here. I don't want to hold you, I don't want to, hold you in suspense any longer. The new signup token is missing in here. And the reason why that's significant is because the CSRF token is something that's constantly generated based on every input that any kind of form input that you have. It's the only way it's one of the ways that it keeps your information safe from any kind of hackers with malicious data or whatever. So the problem is that it's based on, with CodeIgniter, it's based on you refreshing the page via PHP's form or HTML's form refresh. When you hit the button, it will refresh the page. And when it refreshes the page, the PHP creates a new token. We're not refreshing the page. So we have to make a new token ourselves. We have to almost hack our site, our page, and input a new token value in the signup token. Otherwise, this is just going to continue to give us error messages about forbidden this, forbidden that, and it's pretty nasty. I wanted to show you that, but we're not going to. I'm not going to show you that. Instead, what we're going to do here is, if this equals no error, what we're going to, no, screw that. We're going to split it, and then what we're going to do, I'm ready. If this has an error, because if it doesn't have an error, we're just going to go to the dashboard. But if it has an error and we have to do more checks, the first thing that we need to do is we need to reset that signup token. And we're going to reset that signup token with the value of signup 5. That will be the new token that I created here will be the last value that we send after all the checks and after all the errors are sent out, if it doesn't check out. If it checks out, we just load it into the database and we just go to the dashboard. But if it doesn't check out, then we're going to replenish the cross-site reference token, CSRF token value to whatever new hash it created in the back-end side. And when I show you this tomorrow, it'll make a lot more sense. So I will see you then.